Hello, welcome back to another Digging Cincinnati History how-to video. Today we're going to cover the city directories that are available from the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County. I'm going to use the virtual library today, but these are also available at the digital library. I'm going to open that up here so you can see that as well. Give me just a sec here. There we go. These are also available on the digital library. I prefer the virtual library because I feel it's a little easier to navigate. But if you go here to the digital library, they are available under the city and county directories. I'll go ahead and click it here on the digital library so you can see what that interface looks like. And there's a few selections down here at the bottom of the Cincinnati. You have Covington and Newport, Hamilton, Ohio, Hamilton County, and Norwood, Ohio. So there's lots of information available here, but today I'm going to use the virtual library because I feel like it's a little easier to navigate than the digital library. So I'm going to go here to the downloadable city directories, and I'll show you what's available here on this site. You have a few different choices here. You can group by city or by the series. So the series is who the author is. As you can see down here, there's a couple different names before the directories, so that's what the series is. You can select what state, so we have Ohio and Kentucky, and here you can select within what city in that state. So here we have Cincinnati, we have the city of Norwood. I'll click there so you can kind of see what the selection is there. And we also have Hamilton County, and these directories are quite useful if your property is not within the city limits. If you're out in one of the townships or one of the areas that were cities before they were incorporated into the city of Cincinnati, such as Hyde Park or Pleasant Ridge, sometimes your house will appear in these directories before they were actually annexed to the city. And then I'm going to go here and switch to Kentucky so we can see what's available there. The only city selection in the Kentucky directories is Covington and Newport. And they did do a shared directory for quite a few years. So you can see there's quite a selection here as well. If your property is in northern Kentucky, you do have some options available here on the Public Library's website. But today I'm going to work on the city directories. I might go back and show you a little bit on the other ones, but we'll get started here. As you can see, we have directories all the way back from 1819, and I'll go ahead and open that one so you can see what it looks like once you click on that link. It takes you to the page for that directory, so it will give you its call number, so if you wanted to find it at the public library, and it tells you publication date, gives you a little bit of information. To actually open this directory, you can either click on the image of the book or you can click over here where it says PDF. These are also able to save to your computer. So if you wanted to keep the directories on your local computer because you're going to use them often, you can use your mouse and click with the right mouse button, and your menu may look a little different depending on your browser, but you usually have a link that says save link as, or it will say save as, and if you click that, it will take you to where you can actually save it on your computer. So that's very helpful if you're going to use them a lot, such as I do. But today we're just going to open it here within the browser, so I'm going to click that, and it does usually take a little while for it to download. They are large files, especially as you get further into more recent Cincinnati history because we had more people living here. So here I'm on the 1819 directory, and you can just scroll down through here and it gives you some information. These are really interesting, especially in the early years of our city. It gives you some information on the publisher. Sometimes they'll give you some basics history, so they're fun to read through just to get a picture of what they saw Cincinnati like back in the age. So here I'm going to scroll down here. You can see there's some almanac about sunsets and sunrise. And then I'm going to get down to where we can actually have some more information. So here's some information about the city, and let's keep going here. I'm seeing a little bit of history here as we're flying by. Some information about how Cincinnati was settled. This is information on like what availabilities there are in the city. So here's what kind of buildings there are, what kind of dwellings there are, um, what availability of services. So you can see here we have drugstores and places of worship, all kinds of interesting information here. There's some information on details on the building. So here's some information on the courthouse and the jail. There's a seminary here. So it's really interesting information. Let me go down and see what other. This one is not so much of a directory of names as it is kind of information on the city. Oh, here we go. There is some information on the actual people. It's almost towards the end of the book here on page 104, but we finally made it. So here it gives you a little information on the names, what the different things stand for here. So like H stands for house, N is near, C is at the corner, and so you'll see these within the directories. So here, let's just use Joseph Abbott as an example here. He lives on Plum Street between 3rd and 4th. So as you see, there are some that have direct addresses, such as John Abbott. He lives at 40 East 2nd. But keep in mind, these are the old addresses of Cincinnati. These are the addresses before 1895 and 1896, when the city went through a citywide street renumbering. And so you have to keep in mind that East 2nd would actually have been from Main Street, not from Vine Street. So Main Street was the original dividing line. So sometimes you'll actually find a direct address for someone or for your property. Other times you're going to have to kind of make a ballpark, like, okay, all my other information says Archibald Addison lived on 6th Street. Now I know it's between John and Smith, but you may not have a direct address number for that person. And so you can see these are just done, alphabetically through the city. I'm just going to scroll back through this real quick, and then you can see there's some more information, an appendix here of anything that might have changed. It says obtained too late for insertion into the regular part of the directory. So there's some more information here. Here you can see they have some population that was taken in July of 1819 added in here. Only 10,283 residents at the time. So yeah, so this is the 1819 directory. I'm going to close this tab here and come back and show you a little bit of how it changed over the years. So I'm just going to jump a little bit here. Let's go to the 1831 directory and see how this one looks different. Again, you get to this landing page and then you can click on the link to actually load the directory. And you can see, since I'm using Google Chrome, this is my PDF reader within Google Chrome, and it's nice. It tells you when it's finished loading. We can see here we've added some pictures and some images of availability of the different products. Here you can see they're just some general ads to start off the directory. Just like we have today in our own phone books, where local businesses could take out an ad. So here we have it gives us some information here, a complete list of streets and alleys, which is very helpful, so you can find out if your street name has changed. This is very useful to use the listing of streets and alleys. Lots of information here. So feel free to look around these directories. They're just amazing. I keep finding even now more information I didn't even notice before when I've looked at these directories. So it's always great just to take a peek through here. Here it gives us a listing of streets and alleys. I'm going to get my menu up here so we can enlarge this a little bit. And you can zoom in. What is another nice feature of this is that you can search within these directories as well. Now this doesn't give you a menu right here to search, but if you use your keyboard and use the Control F function, it will give you a search function. So you hold down the Control key and press F, and it'll bring you up a search feature, and it will only search the page that you're currently on. So if I want to find out if there was any Smiths living in the city at the time, okay, that was maybe a bad name to choose. You can see over here on the right side of my screen where all the yellow is, that's all the highlights of a match to Smith. And up here it tells me there was 401 matches. So that is quite a bit. So let's pick a different name. Let's go with White. That one not as quite as many. Oh, but we can see it doesn't always just match the last name of White. You can see here Thomas Askew was a whitesmith. I'm not sure what that is different than a blacksmith, but that's something I'll have to research later. You can see there's quite a few. There's white washers. So it's not going to just hit a last name match. It's going to hit anything within a directory that has those letters. So then if you want to, if you see I'm hopping to the next one, I'm just pressing my enter key on my keyboard, or you can use the arrow keys up here in the corner to move up and down to the matches that match whatever you're searching. So yeah, so have fun with these directories. They're very useful. So this one here is the 1831. So it's very similar to the one we looked at 1819, alphabetical. There are a few directories that actually will list the origin of the person, so where they came from. If they were born in the United States, it will list the state. If they were born in a foreign country, it will list what country they were born. Some of them also have sections where people of color were listed separately from people who were white. So they're really interesting. Feel free to dig around. We get more consistent in the appearance of the directory when we get to the Williams City Directories. And as you can see, they start here 1848 to 1849, and the public library has them on here, and you can see they even added a business directory, kind of like our yellow pages versus our white pages today. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, you can see they go up to all the way 1941 on the library's website. So there is a lot of information here. And so let me pick one kind of in the middle here. I'll pick 1885, and I'm just going to use the regular Williams City directory, not the business directory, because if we're looking for a home, this is where you're going to find it. So here you can see these files have gotten so much larger because we have so many more people in the city that the library has broken them up into two parts. And so here it tells you where the cutoff is for the names. So if you are looking for John Smith, you're going to look in the PDF part 2 because it lies between Morgan's and Zen's. So I'm going to go ahead and click one of these open. Now you can see now that they've gotten to be a bigger directory, they're going to take a little more time to load. Again, you can save these to your computer so you have quicker access. You won't have to sit here like we are today waiting for this file just to keep downloading. So let's wait a little bit here while it loads. And you can start scrolling through these as they're loading, but I usually wait until they're completely loaded just to make it easier so I'm not missing any pages or missing any information. And so once my little loading screen goes away, I know that I have got a full file downloaded now. And so this is really interesting just to look at the different inventions that have been coming up. Here we have some ventilators, radiators. That's the word I'm looking for. And here you can see they've built in a warmer to keep the plates and keep your food warm within the radiator. It's just so neat to see all the changes and things over time. So have fun. Look at that range. That is a massive range. That would have provided hot water and a place to cook and a warmer. Just amazing. So let's scroll down here a little bit so we can see what's available in the directory. They do often have a table of contents at the beginning. So this is helpful so that you can go right to what you're looking for. If you're looking for the street directory to see if your street name changed, it's over here. You can look for exactly what you're looking for. So let's go down here a little bit so we can actually see some names. And this is what it looks like within the city directories, the Williams directories, how the names are listed. Again, you can see it's not always consistent. Sometimes there will be a street name still, but here we have Mary Beale, who lives at the northwest corner of Apple and Railroad in the 25th Ward. So you're going to have to use your thinking cap and making sure you're matching the information you've already obtained from maps and from your search of the Hamilton County Auditor site, and use all that information to start putting your pieces of your puzzle together so that you make the matches that you're looking for. There is another thing is when you are searching, when you use the Control F feature to search these directories, you have to remember that these directories were optically scanned by a computer. And as you can tell here, the font's a little fuzzy over the years of it being scanned. And so they are fully searchable, but sometimes the the scanning software that they use to scan the directories to look for all the letters, because as you can see, we can highlight things here. uh, the software doesn't always work very well to match all the letters. So I always say less is more. So if I'm looking for a property at 23 Vine Street, I'm only going to put in the first few letters. And here you can see I just put in 23V, or you can put in 23VI and see what matches it makes. And here you can see it's doing a little search through the directories. You can see the little yellow bars pop up. This is, again, using Google Chrome. And as you can see here, I made a match. Let me zoom in a little bit more so we can read this. I made a match here with Henry Bonswitch, who lives at 623 Vine Street. So as you can tell, it's going to make a match to whatever matches it. It's not going to be an exact thing. If you want it exact, let's see if this will work. If we can put quotes around it and see if we can get an exact match. And I'm going to press enter and see. And if it doesn't exactly match, it will ding at me and it will come up red and say nope, like that. There's no exact match for 23 Vine. But let me take some of these characters out and see what kind of matches we did make. So here we have 623 Vine, and if I go up through these matches, oops, let me go the other way. You can see the different matches that were made here for different properties on Vine Street. Anything that matches the 23 space VI is going to make a match. Let me tell you though, there's some of the most misread characters are available in my book on page 32. If you do get a copy of Finding Your Home's Ancestors, you'll see that I made a list of the different things that are most misrecognized by the scanning software. So these are like the letter M sometimes can be scanned as RA. The S's and the 5s sometimes get flipped, like they'll think a 5 is an S or an S is a 5. Lowercase i's will look like L's. I often find the letter E gets scanned as the letter B as in boy because the way that the font is, it bends over. So instead of looking for Elm Street, I'm looking for Belm, which is BLM. So just keep those things in mind. I do recommend getting a copy of my book because I have highlighted a lot of the little quirks that come along with researching. So that will be really helpful for you to learn how to search in your city directories. Let me go back and I'm going to show you what else is available. So starting in 1925, let me go down here to the city directory, 1925, they started a street guide in the back of the directory. And here you can see it starts in part 3 and it continues in part 4. So I'm going to open part 3. We'll let this load. The street guide actually has an alphabetical listing of the streets, and they show all the street numbers and who lived at that street address. So it's wonderful if you just want to get a quick snapshot of who lived at your house. It'll just give them their first and last names. It won't give you any occupations such as these directories do. You can see, and even back and when we were searching the early city directories, it told you what these people did. So it's such great information that are available. I'm going to scroll all the way down here to the end of the directory so we can see what the street directory looks like. Here we go. So it is a street and avenue guide of householders. Now that doesn't mean that these were the owners. That means these were the people who were living in these houses, or what businesses were at these addresses. So oftentimes these could be renters, but they were the people who were actually at the house. As you get into more recent directories, it will put an O behind the owner's name if they were the owner. Otherwise, you would assume that they were renting. As telephones became more common, there also would put a little telephone icon, and I'll show you that in like the 1930s directory. I believe that starts showing up. So here you can see it's an alphabetical listing of street names, and then you can see the street numbers. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can read this here. So here on Academy, it tells you where Academy is. This is in Price Hill. It tells you where it ran from, and then it gives you the listing of the street numbers and who lived there. It will even tell you if a property was vacant at the time of the directory. So that's great information if you just want to get a quick snapshot of who lived at your address during that time. I know I'm kind of going quick here with this information. Please take your time looking through the directories. They're just such a great treasure trove of information. I just get overwhelmed every time I think about what a great opportunity the library gave us by putting these online. It saves us a trip from going down to the main library where these are at. It also just makes this information available at our fingertips at home. It's just incredible. Also, if you want to search directories after 1941 to the present, they are available at the main library downtown. So make sure if you're really curious to catch all the way up to the present date of who was in your home, that you go to the main library and go to the local history department and ask them where the city directories are. They'll be glad to help you and show you around. I'm checking to see. It looks like 1935 did not have the owner and telephone on it. Let's try 1940. I'm just going to choose part 4 here and let it download. Yes, this one does have it. Let me zoom in here while it's loading, and I'll show you some examples here. So here we can see, here we're at the Jose Apartments, and it shows here this little icon here. It's hard to see. Is a little telephone. So that shows us who had telephones in this building at the time. And I'm going to come over here, back over to Clifton Avenue. And here we can see there's a little O within a circle, and that means that person owned that home. So that gives you kind of an idea of the information to look for as you get into the more modern city directories of who were owners versus renters and who had telephones at the time. It doesn't give us a telephone number. Sometimes those are actually listed on the directory. But you have to remember, city directories are kind of like our telephone books, but obviously telephones didn't come along for a while. So it really gave information of where people lived versus how to contact them at their phone number. I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please like, share, and comment on the video. That helps me to know that I'm providing a good service for you, and I would love to hear some feedback on any questions you have about finding your home's ancestors. I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.